You're listening to Thrive in the Word, and we're glad that you've joined us. You know what? It blesses us to know that you are hungry enough for the Word of God to take some time to study His Word along with us. Thrive in the Word is a ministry of Thrive Ministries International. And let me just ask you if you would do this. Will you pray and ask the Lord if He wants you to support this ministry? You know, it takes money to turn these lights on, to rent this space, to just to live and to do what we do. At the end of this video, you're going to see a web address. If you will, just hit that web address, go to that web address, and then go over and hit that give button. And you know what will happen? You will be brought to a place where you can give into this ministry. Now do as the Lord directs you to give. Let me just say another thing. You can hit a subscribe button where you can subscribe to our newsletter there on our website. Our newsletter has excellent articles every month that are written to help you in your Christian life. So do one of those two things or do them both. Thank you. Now, let's get back into the Word of God. Revelations, the first chapter, verse number 13. Now, we covered the first part of verse number 13 in the last video. If you didn't see it, go back and listen to it because it will help you to understand. John now is describing Jesus. And he's describing what he sees. This is not just something that just kind of floated into his mind. No, John is seeing this. And he's describing who Jesus is. What does he say? He says, again, about half, not even, well, let's just read the whole verse. In the middle of the lampstands, I saw one like the Son of Man. And then he describes him, clothed in a robe reaching to his feet, and girt across his chest is the golden sash. What is John talking about? Is John just talking about what Jesus is wearing? Or is there a reason why John is describing this? Now, I believe that every verse and every word in the Bible is there for a reason, for a purpose. What's John saying? John's saying that he sees Jesus, the Son of Man. And the way that he's clothed is he's clothed with a robe that reaches to his feet. What's John saying? John is seeing Jesus as a high priest. You see, one of the things that would happen is the high priest needed to wear a robe specially designed for them before they could enter in to the Holy of Holies. And what John is seeing that robe. You know, Jesus is our high priest. Jesus right now is standing and he's making intercession for us as a high priest. You see, that's what a high priest would do. A high priest would go and he would present the blood of an animal in the Old Testament. And he'd put that blood on the altar. He'd sprinkle it on the altar. The high priest would first kill that animal, sacrifice that animal, bring its blood. You need, when John sees Jesus, you know what he sees? He doesn't see Jesus hanging on the cross. He sees Jesus standing in the place of the high priest. Jesus standing in the place where he makes intercession for us. That doesn't just necessarily mean he's praying for us. It means that Jesus is standing between God and us. And he's saying, I have put the sacrifice on the altar. It's finished. It's done. I am standing between them. Now this robe would go all the way down to the feet of the priest. In other words, there was no real areas of revealed flesh. It was a robe that covered them completely. And here's Jesus, and he's standing with John, and he's speaking to John. But Jesus is speaking to John from the position of a priest. Now, if you don't believe that, let's go on to the next piece of clothing that Jesus is wearing. And it says that he was girded across his chest with a golden sash. Again, this was something that the high priest would wear when they entered the Holy of Holies. It was a sash. Maybe you've seen in some of the beauty pageants of old that they would wear a sash across their chest, and it would say the state of Michigan, it would say whatever. You know what? That was what Jesus was wearing, something like that. But this is a sash, and this sash is the sash made of gold. In other words, it's completely pure, completely holy. And Jesus is standing there. And he's got the sash, he's got the banner across him. And the banner was to describe who he is. You see, when a person in the Old Testament would see that priest, and he'd see the long robe, and then he would see that banner or that sash coming across the chest of that priest, that person knew two things. First of all, that person knew that that was the priest. But they also knew that that priest was getting ready to enter in that one time a year to make atonement for the sins of the people. So what does John see? John sees our priest, Jesus, the Son of Man. But he sees him as the one who stands and makes intercession, and he sees him as the one who is completely golden. His name is golden. His identity is golden. In other words, extremely, extremely valuable and extremely pure. Wow, what a beautiful description. You know, before this, John's last sighting of Jesus was the ascension, where he saw Jesus in his glorified human form ascending into heaven. But now he's seeing Jesus completely different. He's seeing Jesus as our high priest. What a wonderful, beautiful picture. Join us tomorrow as we go deeper into who Jesus is.